Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Darria, and I am so excited to be on for Home Sweet Home with Dr. Darria, taking over the University of Tennessee alumni Facebook page. So I am thrilled to be here, and anybody who have questions, please put them in the comment section. I believe I can see them. So make sure you put those in there, and I will try to keep watching those and answer your questions today too. So again, who am I? So I'm Dr. Darria Long. I am an emergency room doctor. I'm a clinical assistant professor at the University of Tennessee Erlanger Hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm a regular health contributor and medical contributor on national TV, so CNN, Headline News, NBC, Dr. Oz Show, and a national best-selling author, mom of two, and I'm the author of a TED Talk that just came out about how to triage your life and end the crazy busy. And little did I know that when I wrote this TED Talk, we were about to enter into a totally crazy busy moment. So wanted to talk to you about that. And my goal today is that I know right now many of you are feeling overwhelmed, maybe overwhelmed by more work that you're having to do and work in a way that you never expected to have to do it. I know many of you probably feel a lot of uncertainty about what's happening next, and many of you probably feel scared with questions about how to keep yourself safe, how to keep your family safe with this ongoing threat of COVID. My goal at the end of this is that I want you to leave reassured that you're better able to take care of it, to be able to handle it, to help take care of your family, and with a couple of tips, just a couple of quick tactics and tips to help end the crazy busy and leave crazy busy and go into what I call ready mode, because we know COVID's not going to let up anytime soon. I want you to have the tools in your toolkit that you need to help you do that. So to help you stay sane, to help keep your family sane. So again, what I talk about in the ER is, as an ER doctor, you'll never hear me talk about crazy busy and never hear me say the phrase crazy busy. So for the first part, I'm going to talk about how you can eliminate crazy busy from your own mindset. And then secondly, I'm going to talk about a couple of tactics and tips for COVID, for how to know how to kind of start to re-enter society more safely in a way that's smart and safe. I don't think I can see any people if you're putting comments in, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Can't see that now. But keep putting your comments in. If you put in comments, do that so that I can see it. Ooh, I may have clicked the right button. I don't know. But anyways, I am really excited to be here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about crazy busy, and we're going to talk about how to handle COVID as well. So first, let's talk about crazy busy, because as an ER doctor, crazy busy is a phrase you will never hear me use, and I have to be able to look at those double doors of that come into the ER and know that whatever comes in, that I can handle it, that I've got this. And how do we do that? We don't do that because we're superhuman. We do that because we have two things. One, we have systems in place for how to handle chaos. And secondly, we have a mindset and a way of thinking. Both of those are things that I'm going to talk to you about today, that you can learn how to do that. So let's tell a quick story. Let's talk about this. Come with me into the ER. I'm working a late shift and admitting a bunch of patients to the hospital when I get a call from security. And security says that one of the patients that I just admitted was getting taken upstairs to her room and in the elevator, and the elevator got stuck. Yeah, the elevator was stuck. The elevator was stuck between the 3rd and 4th floor, and she was now having chest pain. And they needed me to go take care of it. So if that at all feels to you like how COVID is, it's a scenario that is one that you think, I didn't study this in school. This was not in the textbooks. Taking care of a patient stuck between the 3rd and 4th floor in an elevator is something I thought would be in Grey's Anatomy, but it's not in the textbooks. And you probably feel that way yourself. Maybe the work you're being asked to do, or the way you're being asked to do it, or while taking care of kids and everything else, like, this wasn't in the contract, whatever contract we got. This wasn't in the contract. So if that's how you feel, we're going to talk about how to do something about it and how to get it under control, because that's life in the ER, and that is life in general. And I promise to come back, and I will come back and tell you what happened with that lady that got stuck in the elevator. She's going to have to wait in the elevator for a second while we talk about some of the other tactics. So, and how to do that. So, first tactic is I want you to learn to triage. This is one of the most important things we can know how to do in the emergency department is triage, because you can have 30 patients come in at the same time. You can't take care of all of them at once. Same thing can happen in your life. And so what we do is we rank by priority, and that's how you take care of, you do things in that order, and you do organize your focus in that order. So what does red mean? And you can think about this as this is kind of a stoplight. Red is immediately life-threatening. This is the most important. This is the thing you have to focus on. Yellow is important but not immediately life-threatening, and green means minor. Now we focus on our reds first. Now, there's a really important additional color in there that I have to tell you that we in the emergency department use in the worst case scenarios, but you need to know about it for your lists and your to-dos, and that is black. The designation black we use when there is a situation where there's nothing else we can do. We use those in really mass casualty situations where there's nothing else we can do and we have to move on. And I use that parallel because I know that every one of you has on your to-do list some item that really needs to be designated as a black. That item, all it is doing is distracting you from your reds, which are your most important things, and it's taking you from them. And as we know in the emergency department, we do not apologize for focusing on the most important things first, because we know that if you get caught up in your blacks and your greens and all these other things, you have no hope of saving your reds. So, first key takeaway, I want you to look at your to-do list, and I want you to start thinking about it in terms of red, yellow, and green, and then I want you to look at those items that are black, and you can either delegate them to someone else or just let them go entirely. I want you to do that with your to-do list. Second thing I want you to do, so we talked about triage, and remember we're talking for systems to help just reduce your workload and reduce that brain burden that you're having right now. Second is automation. So automation, what does this mean? And you can often do things, sorry, I'm switching my feet around, my foot was falling asleep. Automation is something especially important you may want to do with your green items. We just talked about in triage, remember red, yellow, green. Green are things that are minor, but they're often things that have to get done, and they can take up a lot of brain power, even though they're not really important in terms of moving the needle. It could be getting groceries, getting your hair cut, or having a recurring work meeting that is an important thing, but trying to schedule it all the time is not necessarily the best way to use your time. So I want you to take anything that you do every single week or every single day, and I want you to automate it as much as possible. So if it's a recurring haircut or recurring appointment, I want you just to go ahead and schedule out the year or schedule out the next 6 months. Have that on the calendar so it goes off your to-do list. If it is staples in your home, detergent, paper towels, things like that, put them on a subscription service so that you don't have to think about them. If it's groceries that you go to the grocery store and you always forget to get one item, well, you're buying the same items probably every week. Make a saved list, save that, consult that list every single week before you go. Why do I tell you these things? Because they probably sound pretty mundane. As we know in the emergency department, when things get crazy, it's often these little things that will either detract us from our important stuff we have to do, or that'll get forgotten. So my point is, you don't have brain power to worry about if you have enough detergent. Set it, automate it, set it and forget it. So that's the second one, that is automate. Anything that you're thinking of the same thing every single day, every single week, I want you to find a way to automate it, or at least save it, so you're not reinventing the wheel every single time. Now I really want to know if I have, look and see if there are comments, but I don't know how to do it with this Creator Studio. So I don't know how to do that, but it's okay. I will also try to, I bet I can do this. Bear with me while I go to the UT Knoxville alumni page, and I can probably see it there. So, okay, I'm multitasking, and I tell you guys typically not to multitask, but there you go. Okay, there we go. I can see it. Okay, it's still not letting me see if I see comments, but there you go. Go ahead and, I think I can. Go ahead and put your comments in the comments below. Put any questions that you have, and I will make sure to get them. And if you're not watching this live, still put your comments in the comment section. I'm gonna come back. And I will look at your comments. If you have questions, I will answer them, of course. And of course, you can always message me at Dr. Darria on Facebook or Instagram. Let me know your questions, but otherwise, put them in the comment section below. So, okay, we talked about two different techniques. We talked about triage We talked about automating. Now, I also want to talk to you about another, which is, okay, sorry, just checking to make sure it was still live. The Creator Studio is throwing me off. I want to talk another thing, and that's maintenance. I want you to become high maintenance. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that we have been apologizing for maintenance items for too long, and I mean those things that help keep you sane. Okay, so I have my car set up for auto schedule for maintenance. My HVAC, they come and do maintenance on it. What are the things that keep you sane? For me, it's a 30-minute run in the morning. It is doing a 5 or 10 minute meditation right after that before the kids get up. Because if I try to do it after they get up, I will never get a chance to do it. And we so often apologize for that, or we think we're just pampering ourselves, or it's self-love. No, it's not. It's just maintenance. And you don't need to apologize or judge yourself for needing to do maintenance. We all need it. So find what keeps you sane, whether it's a walk or a run or an exercise class or taking a bath or reading a book or just going outside. Schedule your own mental maintenance in every single day. I know as an emergency room doctor, the only way we survive being in those high tense environments is by having a way to do maintenance and knowing that when we get out, we can have that mental maintenance to keep us sane, to keep us in ready mode, because that's where we always have to be when the emergency department. Now, I want to switch from those tactics to some mindset stuff to really help you. We've talked about first how to kind of decrease your workload. Now talk really quickly about mindset. And there's one thing I want you to do for that, since it's so important. In the interest of time, we'll just talk about one really important one. Actually two. I'll do two. First is to focus on what you can control. Right now in the middle of COVID, there is so much that we cannot control right now in terms of closures and safety, and or how much COVID is in your community, the information flow. There's so many things we cannot control. So it's really important that instead of getting caught up here in the nebulousness of what you cannot control, to focus on what you can. I promised you I'd come back and talk to you about my elevator story. So here's what happened in the elevator story. I was taking care of this patient that, remember, she got stuck in the elevator while she was having chest pain, or developed chest pain while she was stuck in the elevator. Security calls me and says, your patient's stuck in the elevator, now developing chest pain. So I couldn't fix the elevator. I knew that was out of my control. I could not get the patient out of the elevator. She was stuck between the 3rd and 4th floor. You could barely squeeze in enough to be able to see her. One thing was in my control, and that was making sure she was not having chest pain and checking her for that. So I got my aspirin, I stuffed it in my scrubs pocket up here, I got some nitroglycerin, I had my stethoscope, had a blood pressure cuff, and I went on my way. And gave her medications, checked a few things. We got her chest pain back under control before the elevator was even fixed. That's focusing on what you can control and not being overwhelmed, not being daunted about the bigger picture of things that you cannot. Focus on what is in your control. What does that mean for you? That means not getting overwhelmed by coronavirus in your community and necessarily what it means. Don't let that make you so scared that you can't function. Focus instead what is in your control. What is in your control is deciding how you and your family go back into the community and what activities are safe and what's not. Which members of your family go back, which don't. That is in your control. When it comes to your work, maybe it's not in your control how much work you have or how it's being delivered over virtual and this hybrid. What is in your control? How you choose to communicate with your coworkers, how you can have a beginning of day ritual and an end of day ritual to really encapsulate your work day so that it doesn't feel like it leaches into everything else in your life, which happens right now when we're all working from home too. Focus on what you can control. And second thing for mindset is gratitude. So this may sound very Pollyanna. It is not. This is firmly based in science, which is why I love it. And like everything I talk about is firmly based in science to help make your life healthier, better, and easier. So studies show our brains evolutionarily start to look for the negative. But we can, through neuroplasticity, we can change our brains to look more for the positive. One of the best ways is to write down 3 new things for which you're grateful every night. New things. Now, key here is that you don't have to be feeling super grateful and super happy to write them down. Even if you don't feel really great that night, take the effort and write them down. Because if your thoughts go one way, your feelings and your emotions will eventually follow. It might not be immediate, but it will eventually follow. So if you take nothing else from this, I want you to start doing that. I do that. Every single night I write down those 3 things for which I'm grateful. And it is important that you hear this. I do not do that because I am some Pollyanna optimist. I do that because I'm not. And I need those gratitudes. I need to write that down to be able to reset my focus every night and every day. Now that since we were talking, and now that I hope you're feeling a little more gratitude, I want to shift. Keep that good, grateful feeling. Maybe take a moment to think about something that you're grateful for right now. And then we're going to switch to one other thing for which you can be grateful is some tips to help keep your family safe when it comes to COVID. Now, I've had so many people ask me about different scenarios. Can we go to restaurants? Can we go to summer camp? Can we go to play dates? I realized what you needed was a framework to be able to make those decisions yourself. And so that's where we came up with this framework called the 4 Ds. Now, the 4 Ds are exactly the sort of thing that you can now use when you're looking at an activity to say, is this safe? Is it not? How can I make it safer? So think of the 4 Ds as kind of toggle switches. On the far right, if all of them are far high risk, that means that's probably a high risk activity. You shouldn't do it. Versus if they're all in the low risk, that's a low risk activity. And assuming that you're in a community that doesn't have a huge number of people who are sick, then go ahead and do it. So what are the 4 Ds? The 4 Ds are density. So is it super crowded where you are or not? Distance, or it's super crowded or at this activity, or is it indoors, which is higher risk, or is it outdoors, which is lower risk? Distance, how far apart are people? Are you packed in there like sardines, or are you further distance apart? Duration, are you with this group of people for 2, 3, 4 hours? It's going to be higher risk and increase the chance that you can be together enough time that somebody can make you sick, or vice versa. Versus low duration, which is you just pass by each other outside for a walk, or passing by some other very short duration activity where there's very little time to infect one another. And the last is degree of activity. So low risk is that you're sitting quietly. High risk is that you're singing or speaking or shouting or exercising together. So think about any activity that you're doing now in terms of the 4 Ds. And remember, you want all 4 Ds to be on the low risk side, but if there's an activity that you want to do, then you can think of ways to lower a D. For example, say you want to go to a restaurant. Then for density, you can call ahead, see if you can sit outside. A lot of restaurants are doing things like booking at 50% capacity or less, or around there. That's going to decrease your density. That's going to make that on the safer side of D. For the distance for a restaurant, of course, the lower capacity will help, but the other thing to do is when you get there, call and let them know you're waiting in your car, so you're not waiting in a packed waiting area. And when you walk in, wear your mask when you're walking through any place that you can't maintain that safe distance. That's how you can manipulate each of the Ds all the way down to duration and degree of activity to choose what activities are safe and to make those activities lower risk when you want to do them. There you have it. I'm happy to answer more questions, and I hope that this was really helpful in helping you get back to normal in a way that is smart, safe, and with lower stress. And I see another quick question there. Jordan, such a great advice. In the midst of this constant state of change we're living in right now, what is your advice on best tactics to find some consistency in our schedules? Great question. Why? Because our brains love a routine. They do. It makes your brain feel comfortable. Just think about it. We all do. Think about for anybody who's a parent, remember babies, they love that routine. You feed them, diaper change, swaddle, sleep, and they just love that. So how can you recreate that routine? Because for so many of us, our routines have been thrown out the window. So one of the ways I do that to create consistency is I have the same morning routine every single morning. And I think this is really important. So start finding ways that you can routinize your day. This is a lot like the automate we talked about earlier. Remember, one of the tactics was to automate. So those things that you do every day, I want you to make them automatic and make them routine. So my morning routine, I get up, I go for a run, I do, if I have time, about 5 minutes meditation while I have my coffee. Then I go wake up the family and engage with the kids. That's my morning routine. That is something that I can control, and I have to get up before they wake up to be able to have that control. You can do the same. You can have a routine for when you start work. You can have a great routine for those of you working from home to have an end of day, end of work routine. or have a bedtime routine. It's really important for all of us. Just look at all your activities during the day. Find one place that you can put a routine. I guarantee you will feel better. Your brain will like it and your body will like it. And it's especially good for exercise, because if you schedule it, it becomes a routine, you're going to do it. Because the moment that you say, what am I going to exercise today, is the moment that you don't do it. So really love that. Thank you, Jordan, for asking that question. The importance of routines and rituals right now, more important than ever. And also another great ritual is if you're feeling disconnected from friends or family, maybe make a ritual after dinner once a week of connecting with people. Another way that it's a ritual and the double benefit of connecting with people. You get to see them. You don't get really eye-to-eye contact so much, but you get a little bit of that oxytocin rush, which makes you feel good, and you can connect. That's another great ritual to do. So thank you, Jordan, for that question. And you guys, this was fun. This was really fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you feel that you're better able to go back to this new normal safely, smartly, and with lower stress. I hope you feel like you got some tips for managing your to-dos, got some tips for managing your mindset, and some tips for helping you make decisions about how to go back into the community in a way that is safe. If you'd like that, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to connect with you. Feel free. I'd love to have you follow me on Instagram at Dr. Darria, or right here on Facebook at Dr. Darria Long. Find me there. Ask me your questions. I answer them every day as much as possible, and do little daily videos to help keep you informed, to use the best information to make your life healthier, better, and easier. Oh, I forgot to mention, all of you who like the crazy busy and you're feeling crazy busy and you want to get rid of the crazy busy, on my website, drdarria.com, I'll put a link to it in the comment section. I have a place where you can get your crazy busy score. You take the crazy busy quiz, and then you get the crazy busy toolkit that has some of the stuff I talked about today, but really a worksheet to help you work through it, to eliminate the phrase crazy busy from your life. We need it now more than ever. And to help you do that. And I see another question really quickly. Any ideas for a mom and dad that both work from home but need to keep a 4- and 6-year-old busy while working? Amen, Sandy. I hear you. I have a 3- and a 6-year-old, so in the same boat. So a couple of different things people have been doing that I've heard, some different tactics. One thing is that parents can take shifts. So that's harder. It's tough, but I've heard some say that, mom will do work from 6 or 7 a.m. till noon, and then dad will do work from noon to 5. So at least you get a chunk of work done that is totally protected. You do not interrupt the other. That time is sacred. So that's one way. If you can get really solid 5 hours, if you think about it, your old work day, your 8 hours was commutes and catching up and all these other things. If you just focus and get a solid 5 hours, that's a great way to do it. B is have a plan B. So have a plan for those times when it may be, maybe it's your partner's time to work, but suddenly you have that call that you have to have. What can you do with your kids? So we can get a little more grace around screen time right now. If you have an emergency and you got to get on the phone, if there's something you want to have them watch on the iPad, that's fine. Have better games. PBS Kids has a great app and it has great games. So I feel a little bit less guilty if my children are watching that because I have to have a call that I just have to make. That's a great tip to do as well. I think for parents right now, it's really important we get outside. Get your kids outside to run. So when it's not your shift to do work and your shift with the kids, get them outside. I think it's been really hard to be cooped up, and we underestimate how much physical activity our kids especially, and us too, need during the day. So Sandy, that's kind of the third thing I would say is make sure during the day your kids are getting plenty of physical activity, lots of time. Get them outside, get them tired. I just did a segment with CNN the other day. It's on my Instagram feed about how to go to the playground in a way that's safe. And also pay attention to what they're eating as well. If they're home and they're eating a lot more sweets, they're gonna be harder to handle. So make sure they're eating well. If you focus on those things, you can get your time to work. Your spouse can get your time, a chunk of time to work. Keep everybody happy. There are also just some other really cool things you can do online. There's one, and I'll put some more in the comment section, but there was one where you can have an astronaut read stories, which my 6-year-old loves. So literally it's an astronaut in space reading stories. And Mo Willems did something for drawing. There's a lot of cool things where you can feel like you're not just sitting your child in front of a screen, but they're learning something and you are getting the moment in time you need. So there you go, shift work, let them have smart time with screens, get them outside, get them tired, and feed them healthy food so that they're not crazy children. Zena said, any advice for kids going to college in the fall so I don't make her feel obsessed with being safe? This is tough. This is a really tough one. And I think, for one, I think so many colleges don't exactly know what they're doing yet. I think it's really important that we tell all of our children at an age-appropriate level, help them understand the importance of coronavirus, the importance of keeping yourself safe, and then taking it from uncertainty, because uncertainty, when it's nebulous, is very uncomfortable, it's very stress-inducing, and take it down to say, okay, what's your actual risk? So take it from uncertainty of what is this thing that could kill us? Don't do that. Don't go up there. Take it down to say, what's my actual risk? Talk to your daughter. What's her risk level? Is she a totally healthy person, or does she have medical problems? That's the first thing. And then talk to her about what activities are low risk versus high risk. That way she can know what is safe, what is not safe. Talk to her about when to wear a mask. What are those things to do? I think if you can bring it from this uncertainty down to risk level and steps to take, that makes all of us feel better. So talk to her about the 4 Ds that I just talked to you about. And give her that information so that she can know what to do. And I think it's also, last thing, is to plan for chaos. We do that in the emergency department. We plan for when everything is going to break loose, because if you're ready for those moments, and if you plan for chaos, then it's not actually chaos anymore. It's expected. So have a plan in place for your daughter to say, okay, here are the red flags. Here are the red flag events that mean you need to leave where you are and go back to your dorm. Or here are the red flag things that if they happen, it means you're coming home. I think having those as well, and knowing that this is dynamic, it's all potentially going to change, which is hard, but at least saying we have this plan in place, and that we may iterate on it, we may modify it, but we have a plan that will make your daughter feel better, that will make you feel better, and you keep communicating on it. Of course, talk to her doctor as well, make sure that, see if they have any other opinions, and her college will as well. But I think those are some of the best tactics. And I'm happy to answer more questions, Zena. Just message me if you have more questions or any other thoughts. So there you go, guys. Thank you for the great questions. That was really fantastic. I'm so proud to be a UT Vol. Just as a note, I've only been a UT Vol as a clinical assistant professor for a couple of years, but I've always been a UT Vol. I was a girl who grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so grew up being a Vol, and of course we have the UTC mocks as well there. When I went up north for school for my sophomore statistics class, my project, I compared T. Martin versus Peyton Manning on stats on passes and rushing, and looked at the statistical difference between them and their teams. My New York-based statistics teacher did not know what to make of me doing my statistics project on that. But you know what they say, once a Vol, always a Vol. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to connect with you again at Dr. Darria on Instagram and Facebook. Go take the Crazy Busy quiz on my website, drdarria.com. We will help you get rid of the crazy busy, feel more ready mode. Let me know what other questions you have. It's been absolutely my pleasure. And I look forward to staying in touch. Go Vols! Bye, guys.